Welcome to the Iconics BizViz video guide. This video discusses the specifics of using parameters in ReportWorX reports. It covers the creation of parameters, specifying parameters in queries, and using parameter values in the unified web interface.
In this video we will see how we can use ReportWorX parameter to create flexible reports. Our sample report will get the data out from a SQL Server database, specifically the ReportWorX database, which is the sample database for SQL Server. We will use the purchase order header table for this example, which contains a list of orders that have been placed over the years in this example database. If we take a look at the order date column, you will see that we have a list of dates ranging from 2001 up to 2004. We will create a report with a parameter which will be the order year, and we will use this parameter to select only a certain set of orders, and we will make some operations on top of it. So let's go back to ReportWorX and let's create a new template. We want to create a blank template, and we can use Excel 2007 format. We need to give a name to the template. Let's call it My Template. Let's click on Apply, and then we can start edit the template. The first thing we will do is to actually create the parameter that we will use for this report. So we can click on ReportWorX ribbon bar up here and open the parameter browser. So what we will do is to create a new parameter here, which we will call order year. We don't want to manually enter a value, but we will take advantage of a nice feature of ReportWorX, which is the capability to generate a dynamic list of values depending on what is actually into the database. So the data type in this case, even if the year is part of the date, can be integer because it is actually a number. And we will specify also a prompt to be shown to our user when entering the parameter. So let's configure the parameter details from here. We need to connect to a database, and we can use this connection, which I already have created, which is a connection to my ReportWorX database using SQL Server. And now we need to create the query. So I will start using the advanced query just to create a part of the query, and then I will tweak it by hand. So let me add the table that I want to use, which is under purchase order header. Now what I need to get out of this table is actually only the order date. Then I click on OK, and then I click again on build query, and I will use custom query to tweak my query manually. So what I actually want to do is to select not the whole date but only the years out of it. So I'm using the date part function to get the year out of these fields, and I selected distinct, so I have no repeating values. So the last thing I also want to do is to give a name to this as order year, so I can run an order by order year. So let me click on OK, and let's test if my parameter works correctly. So as you can see, I have 4 values returned exactly as I wanted, and they are also sorted by year. So I also need to pick default values, because if I try to click on OK, the system will complain that I need to pick a value first. So we'll click on the pick a value button, and I will select the first available value. If you know a default value, you can even directly type it in. And then I'll click on OK, and on OK again, and once again on OK. So my parameter is ready to be used. So let me now connect to a new data source, open database. So this is where I actually go and get the data out of the database. So as a connection string, I can reuse this one, and I will need to create a query. So let's create an advanced query here. I pick the same table as for the parameter, And here I will select some fields that I want to use, namely the order date, and then subtotal, taxes, freight costs, and the total due. I could also add some other fields, but let's say that in this case I'm only interested in getting these. So I can also set a filter, which is a where clause, and I will use an expression filter here. So what I want to do is to select a column, which is the order date, and here I will set order here, which is the name of the parameter. You specify it in this way, and because the order here is only the year, I also have to specify the date part function here to make sure that only the year is returned out of this column, which is actually not the column I wanted. So let me select this again, click on columns, and select order date. Okay, now that's what I wanted. So as you can see, the query preview updated to add the where clause that I wanted. So I am satisfied, I press on OK. I can test this to make sure that it is actually working OK, and it is telling me that I need to declare this scalar variable. So let's go back in Edit and do custom query now. At this point I can select the parameter here. Well, actually I don't need to select it, but I can click on this button to bind the parameter. The system now can find my parameter here, and I can bind it to one of the existing parameters. So I'll select the only one that I have created so far, and I press on OK, and OK again. Now, if I test the query, the system is asking me to enter a parameter value. I know that 2001 exists, so I can run the query and I can actually see some values coming out of the database. So at this point I can finish, and I can go on and work on the data mapping, which is the way we put the data that we get out of the database into the Excel spreadsheet. So I will insert all the 5 columns that I get out of the database, and I press on OK. So now all I need to do is just to tweak the report a little bit to make sure that it looks nice. So let me make this column a little bit wider, let's say 14, and I will make the first row static, and I will also change the style. Let's say I make it bigger and bold, and because I know that these values here are money amounts, I will also set here the format, let's say accounting. Let me check the format cell from here. I want to use euro, for example. So let me find euro. 2 decimal places is OK. So I can press on OK. On this column I will have dates, so I can select, for example, long date. And to make this a little more interesting, because we have money amount here, let me also compute the total values for this. So what I can do is to use the sum function from B2 to B3, and the system will automatically make this sum function adjust depending on how many values we have up here. And another thing that I can do is to draw a border for my total values. Let's select this line style and apply it on the top. And then let me also make this bold. So we have created our template. We can save it, commit our changes, and close Excel. So we still have to create a new report which is based on this template. I'll call it my report. I enable this report, I select the only template that I created, and I click on apply. the system asks me if I want to notify the report engine. That's what I want to do. And then I will click on this button to open up the web interface. I will expand the ReportWorX node, click on my report, and as you can see now the system find my parameter here. I have the dynamic list of values, and let's say that I want to pick 2001 and execute my report. The report has been executed and I can open it and visualize it. So, as you can see, the system has created this list of values coming from the database. I can format them any way I want, and then I also have the sum values. As you can see, the function has updated here, and this is the sum of these values and these other values. So I have created my report. Now, the good thing about this is that if I change my parameter, let's execute it one more time, for example 2002, and I run it again, my parameter will be different, but I only have to maintain one report template, and the flexibility given by the parameters allow me to run every time a different report. And another good thing is that because we have used the dynamic list of values, if now somebody enter a new order, for example for 2011, the parameter list will update itself showing a fifth value, which is 2011. So I don't even need to adjust my parameter for the future. It is already ready for that. As soon as somebody adds a new order, the parameter list will update and you can keep on running reports using the new values.